In this episode, we're going to talk all things Boston Marathon, and we're going to take you behind the scenes of the finish line and touch on 2026. All right, so I'm on here with MK Shea from the Boston Athletics Association. MK, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for asking me, Letty.
Yes, I'm very excited because as you and I just talked off air, there's so much that goes into a marathon, and usually it ends for us runners once we cross the finish line. So we wanted to just kind of talk about the fun stuff that you guys have to deal with. But before we start that, maybe we can take a little deep dive into who you are and how you get involved with the BAA.
Sure. So I started being involved with the Boston Marathon about 27 years ago. So I've been here for quite a while. I started working with John Hancock, who at the time was the principal sponsor, and they were also the managers of the professional fields. So my job was primarily to research and write about the pros who were invited to come to Boston. And then as the years progressed, ultimately moved over to the Boston Athletic Association and continuing to work with the professional fields, but not only the open runners, the open professionals, but the pro wheelchair racers and the pro para racers. And then also recruiting for every race event that the BAA has, which includes the marathon, the 5K, the professional mile, our 10K, and our half marathon.
Sounds like a dream job.
I think so.
No,
I
I wasn't
really
being
enjoy it.
sarcastic. I think that's super interesting. So you are involved in that and everything else. I saw you at the press conference and you are running around. You are busy. So, given that for us runners, everything ends once we cross the finish line, maybe you can tell us about the immediate atmosphere that the BAA experiences after that last person crosses the finish line.
Well, the final finisher, that is a celebration in and of itself because it is quite an accomplishment for any runner to make it to the starting line at the Boston Marathon. So we love that final finisher and it's very celebratory. We take the professional athletes, they cross the finish line, they go through the medical tent into massage and recovery. So we have about 120 open athletes, we have about 50 to 60 wheelchair athletes, and we have about 12 paraprofessionals. We have a larger para and adaptive field, but those are the professionals. So they'll go back to the race hotel, get a little TLC, have some lunch, and then they'll go to the media room, which you were very active in, Letty, this year, and they'll answer some media questions. After that time, everyone's invited to a nice post-race party. So all of the professional athletes go to a party, which is near FanFest. We also take the champions to FanFest, which is open to all participants and they have a little meet and greet and some additional celebration. So all of that happens, and then people ultimately make their way back to the hotel to get a little rest. And then our champions and notable athletes, the next morning we have another press conference, and they're taken to the View, which is a very high building in Boston, where they get more media attention. And then, really, on Tuesday, it's all about getting our international athletes back to their home country. So it's a very busy travel day for all of our open athletes. And a lot of our wheelchair athletes make their way over to the London Marathon, at where they participate as well. So it's very busy for the BAA. And operations is closing down the race course, internal operations is tidying up and adjudicating results. The comms group is doing some post-race reporting. Our marketing team is having a wonderful get together for all the sponsors. So it doesn't stop on Marathon Monday. It continues well into that week in April. And at the same time, as soon as that final finisher crosses the line, we're already have in the works who we want to invite for 2026 and how that race is going to look. So it's really evergreen, Letty. There's really no time to rest and relax because we always want to be an industry leader. We always want to have a world-class sporting event. So the wheels are always turning for everybody involved. There's about 40 people at the Boston Athletic Association, so it's a very small team, but it is an amazing team. Everyone's so passionate about their areas.
I've noticed that, and just because you were just mentioning that, shout out to Marcel Hoog and Catherine de Bruyne. I went on to the London Marathon myself as well, and there they were. And I'm friends with Marcel Hoog, so it was just amazing to talk to him and see how fast they have to recover in
Mhm.
their wheelchairs to do it again. And here he is, winning 8 times in Boston and then the fifth time in London. So they're just amazing people.
Yes, absolutely amazing. The wheelchair group is phenomenal. We celebrated the 50th year of wheelchair racing in Boston this year, which is a true milestone. We were the first marathon in the world to offer wheelchair racing, and it was just a very nice celebration this year to have some of our Bob Hall, who was our original racer, return to chat with everybody.
That's amazing. Yes, yes, we saw him there. Okay, so I want to touch a little bit on the involvement of people. You mentioned you guys are about 40 people at the BA. How many volunteers did you guys have this year?
So we have just shy of 10,000 volunteers for the marathon itself. So it works out to be about one volunteer for every three runners. So we actually have to turn volunteers away. That's how popular this race is with our volunteer crew. Many have been here for decades, and those who have served over 25 years get celebrated with a nice lunch. But the volunteer group is truly phenomenal. For the pro athlete teams, we have a whole group of folks and family members who come and support those athletes as well. So we love our volunteers in Boston.
Yes, they are amazing and they're out there. And are they also involved in the post-race operations, taking down the course and cleaning up, or is that another agency from Boston City directly?
It's a combination of groups, really, that some vendors, some contractors, our operations team, and marketing teams and volunteers. So it's really a joint effort and returning Boston to the city after Marathon Monday.
Okay. And so once everybody starts and crosses the starting line, then you guys already know how many people had signed up and how many people are actually running this race. What are some other statistical things that you guys collect in the aftermath of this race? Medical tent usage, transportation, and what do you do with this data?
Ah, so usually on Tuesday after the race, we will have a few folks, public safety officials and other folks report that data. So I don't have it quite handy, but things like in the past anyway, what we find interesting is, first of all, the economic impact of the race, which was over 500 million for 2024. So that data is collected. The number of safety pins used, the number of trash cans used, the number, the weight of recycled materials, the number of medals given out, um, the number of countries finishing, athletes, of course, age groups, pretty much every data point. I wish I had the list for you, but it is kind of fun to see how all that data supports the day, the number of paper cups used for the water, how those are recycled, number of t-shirts given out, sizes of t-shirts given out, exchanges of t-shirts at the expo. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. And so maybe we'll end up getting the data from you and we'll link it because I think that stuff is very, very interesting. Another question that comes with that is the question of course, every race is talking about it, sustainability, cups and
Mhm.
everything. It's difficult, right? Because runners don't want to run with refillable water bottles just because we're here to race. We want to go fast. And there are other things that might make an even bigger impact than not using those plastic cups per person, anything from the bags that we use to go to the starting line, etc. But from that perspective, is there a sustainability or recycling aspect to the post-race breakdown as well?
Yes, and that's we have now partnered with Schneider Electric as our sustainability partner. That's a group out of France, and they are taking the lead on that. We also are involved with World Athletics sustainability efforts. So it crosses boundaries from carbon footprint to diversity, equity, inclusion to materials used and where they're sourced. It covers about 70 points for sustainability. And a lot of our initiatives are on our website, baa.org, so you can check those out if anybody's interested. But all of the major races around the world have to take into consideration sustainability, and everybody is working towards that end to make it the greenest races we possibly can, because that does impact every runner's experience. The air quality is very big for races around the world. So everything from air quality to what type of where your safety pins are sourced. It's nothing's too small.
Yes, yes, yes. And then with that security, maybe you can speak a little bit to all the security that's involved. This was my first time not racing because I really just wanted to fully dive into the media. And that's when I noticed how much policing is there. Obviously, we know what happened in 2013, and we're not going to go back there again, but just maybe you can talk to that a little bit.
Yeah, our head of race operations, Lauren Proshan, and our CEO, Jack Fleming, work very closely with the 8 cities and towns. As you know, we're a point-to-point course, and we run through 8 cities and towns, ultimately ending in Boston. But each of those cities and towns have their own safety personnel that come out to support us on Marathon Monday. We also have course marshals as well as volunteers. We have race officials and a race referee. And between everybody, pretty much every public safety group is involved in supporting us on Marathon Monday.
Okay. And you just
Yep.
mentioned race referee. I talked to Mark Miller in when I was in London because he's the German race director and he said he was the race referee. I had never even heard of that for running. So maybe you can explain a little bit what the job is of the race referee.
So we work with the mass track and field officials as well as USATF race referees and officials. They just ensure that the race is in compliance with all USATF and World Athletics rules, and that it is just the fairest race possible for everybody involved. So when you sign up for one of our races, you will sign a waiver, and that will outline some of the rules that every participant, not just the pros, needs to adhere by. So our race officials are looking at finish lines, they're looking at pro hydration stations. They just want to make it as fair a race as possible. So we really do depend on them. And Mark Mild is awesome, and Berlin Marathon's wonderful. We love that race.
Yes, absolutely. And shame on me for never reading the fine print, right? We should all know better, but I guess it's all out there. And I guess with that, maybe let's talk a little bit about the planning for 2026. You said this is evergreen. Obviously, nothing really stopped on. So maybe tell us how that goes, the intense period leading up to the Boston Marathon, and then winding down a little bit.
Sure. During the summer, we have a series of neighborhood runs, a neighborhood fitness series where we host fun runs around the city and in different neighborhoods. So that's ongoing during the summer. We also have the Boston 10K, which is at the end of June. And then we roll into, we're having a new event in August, and then we have our half marathon in November. But in the build for Boston 2026, we are reviewing some of our policies that may have been a hindrance to participants. We're reviewing our qualifying standards, not for 2026, but for 2027. We're reviewing which races are qualifiers for Boston. We are also reviewing the timeline for race registration, which begins in September, and that qualifying window. And it's a lot of review processes, but also making sure our systems for registration and the vendors and contractors we use for registration are set in place and good to go based on past experiences. So it is a lot of review. We're also, don't forget, um, adjudicating results from 2025. We're waiting on drug testing for the professional fields before we can pay out those prize awards. So a lot of housekeeping and administrative work is really happening in the build to its September. Our 5K, which is 2 days before the race, sold out in, I think it was 21 minutes. Um, so the races, it's fast and furious for all of our all of our races, including the Boston Marathon. It's very much in demand, so we have to be ready for that demand.
Yeah, and you are aware that Marathon Tours sells hotel rooms, right? And those used to be on there for about a week, and now it's come to the point that I'm not sure when that window opens. I think it's June 16th, and it's those rooms sell out within 15, 20 minutes as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, Boston is a very small city, so the hotels max out for sure. Other options are to go into Greater Boston or to get an Airbnb or to share rooms with other folks, but it is very, very tight in Boston. It's a small city. There's no missing that there's a marathon happening in Boston, other like some other major cities where you don't really know if there's a race going on. But in Boston, it is the race. Boston becomes the race for that weekend. As you know, our finish line is open. Everybody's walking around. It's not closed. It's not secure. You can just, it's more like a street festival, really. And we really want that hometown kind of vibe to keep going strong here in Boston.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to clarify something that you mentioned that you guys are waiting on drug test results. Just to explain to the listeners, how does it work? How come it takes so long, isn't it, that you just take the athletes after the race and then take their blood or urine and then there should be results?
No, it is a process. So in Boston, we take anti-doping very seriously. As you know, we just launched, or maybe you don't know this, but we just launched a volunteer repayment program so that at any time since the inception of prize awards and then going into the future, if someone is disqualified from the Boston Marathon and has earned a prize award, we will then make compensation to the rightful owner of that rank. So we have been paying some voluntary repayments for prize awards. We just want everyone to recognize and to be valued. And it's understood that placing at the Boston Marathon, coming in those top 10 places, is something that requires a lot of dedication and hard work. So if you're robbed of that because somebody has cheated, we want to still compensate you for your rightful rank. So having said that, in Boston for the marathon, like most of the majors, all of our professional field are tested prior to the race even starting, and that's called pre-competition testing. And that's done for this year was done by USADA. And then the manager of those results is the Athlete Integrity Unit, which is based in Monaco and affiliated with World Athletics, so the governing body for road events and track and field. So those athletes, most everyone is tested pre-comp, and then in competition, it is random. It is the top finishers, it is para athletes, it is open athletes, and it is wheelchair athletes. All of those folks are then tested on race day. The samples are then sent to a testing facility, a laboratory where everything is ensured that the race was as fair as possible, and then we receive the results. After
Perfect.
we receive the results, we would then issue the prize awards.
Perfect. Thank you for explaining that. My next question is goes to the two things that runners really care about, the jacket and the medal. The medal this year, I mean,
So
that was
beautiful.
one of my regret points in skipping this race this year because I was like, oh my gosh, this is an amazing medal. So we are super happy that BAA and the Boston Athletics Association worked together and came up with this beautiful thing. But my question is, how long does it take and who designs both jackets and medals?
Well, Adidas is responsible for all of the gear. I have on the celebration jacket right now. So they designed that for our race. They have been a long-term partner over 35 years with the BAA. So we just can't say enough positive things about Adidas as a company and their crew, their staff, everybody is all hands on for Boston. So they work in conjunction with our marketing team to ensure that the Bank of America, which presents our race, is visible in those logos. So the bank, Adidas, and BAA Marketing, which is head up by Scott Stover and Katie Hawks and Rich Brothers, they share the workload to get those orders in well in advance. And then for the medal, that also is the bank and our team working together to delight the finishers. I really did like this year's medal. My son and my daughter both ran, and I was jealous too, Letty. So
Congratulations to them. Did they do well?
they did do well. They finished within 2 minutes of each other, which was kind of funny.
Oh, wow. And they didn't run together.
They did not run together, no.
Huh.
Yeah,
Maybe they should have.
I know.
Well, proud moments for you as a mother, I'm sure. My kids are too young to be running any races, but of course, I hope that that'll be in their future once they're a little bit older. MK, thank you so much for your time. And we're very happy to hear about these insights of how this race winds down. But because of having all these other distances, it never really does wind down for the BAA.
Right, and we are already recruiting for 2026, so we will have some exciting names for you to watch out for next year.
Perfect. I can't wait. Thank you so much, MK.
Thank you, Letty, and good luck in all your running. And
Thank you.
thank you so much for the invitation.